It's tabletop time.
I'm Jazza.
I'm Dave.
And it's devil time. That didn't say, it sounded cool in my head. Like,
Yeah,
it's devil time. It sounds
all I
so
thought was
lame.
deviled eggs, and then I was hungry again. I think about food a lot on this.
You have joined us on Monday when Dave painted his angels.
Da 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 da.
I printed a devil to fight the angel. It was actually a failed print. The hair sort of went kapoop, and a sword didn't print. The arm just sort of died on arrival. So this one was no good. The other thing that disappoints me about this guy anyway is that he is not floating like this angel. So he would have been like this little short guy on the ground, which makes sense because you're meant to have cooler powers than me. But I was just like, hello, I've got to fight you.
Aha, slice my drapery.
Yeah,
and then
so
look, I won.
That's how that, so yeah, no, that didn't work. So that was attempt 1. So I just reprinted it, but slightly larger so the supports would properly support it, which as you can tell also failed. Then we have print 3. I was trying to do the same model. I'm like, this is gonna work. I went bigger, and
it's even worse.
It's even worse. But like the details of the armor start to look really cool when it does print well.
Can I say, don't throw this out, because these like triple winged seraphim wings would be so cool for some conversions later.
All right, let's keep them. In the end, I decided, look, this model wasn't working, but also I didn't like that he was stuck on the ground. So I chose flying ones, and I thought they're a bit smaller. They don't have quadruple wings like these guys. They have single wings, but I thought they could be quite a bit weaker and I could have a few of them. So I printed a couple and they worked. I finally printed them properly. Hooray! Then I cured them at a high temperature and they just flopped.
Oh, what have you done to them?
I cured them and they just blew. I didn't keep an eye on them. At 60 degrees. So they were perfectly like balanced and like ready to go. And then they just sort of like slumped. It's clear from this point that since yours shattered twice and has come back to life, you have resurrection powers. Mine keep dying. They want to die. So mine have like, are imbued with the essence of destruction. They just decay, right? So I feel like that's got to play into their abilities somehow.
You're not painting these ones,
No. These are, although they could be like dead units.
That one has like almost a dynamic pose.
Yeah, that's almost cool.
Works. That's
he's just face planted.
Well, that's actually almost comically like a dead one.
Yeah.
We should almost keep like dead one marker.
So 5th time's a charm. I finally, after carefully printing and then curing individual items and bringing it all together, I have my 3, count them, 3
I feel
demons.
Scared for my angel looking at that.
Yeah. Look.
Like, dear goodness.
Yeah, you're in for a
I'll mess him up.
real battle there.
Your bases, there's a lot more you can do with that. This is just like stone. Whatever.
Demons are cooler. What can I say? Hashtag Team Demon.
Team Angel. Team Demon sucks.
Good
guys.
Team Demon rocks.
Think of how cool Tyrael is in Diablo. Are you saying Tyrael's not cool?
You saying Diablo's not cooler?
You know he's not. Especially
the
after
game is called Diablo, not Tyrael.
Yeah, but he also transforms and does... It's bad.
So, I'm going to paint 3 demons in this video. I have 5 hours. You are going to help us with a few little votes, and we said that next week we'll battle. That's not actually possible given the time frame in which videos are produced. Point is, it's going to be a few weeks before we battle, so you have time to vote. The roleplay patrons will vote on the system we use and play with. The mini club patrons will vote on the playmat we're playing on. So go vote as patrons, and of course, thank you for being patrons. It makes all this content possible, and we're very close to doing 2 mini videos a week. Like, we're not that far away from our goal. Don't you attack yet. It's not battle time. I've got to paint my demons. I'm going to go paint my demons. He's getting a bit too trigger happy.
That's right.
All right. Finally, I have some minis ready to paint my 3 demons, and I was really looking forward to jumping into it. And I got stuck into it, starting off with a black primer, and then something happened that you'll find through the rest of this project becomes a reoccurring theme. Anyone who does delicate 3D printing will relate to this, and that is that they're brittle and fall apart. And even just in trying to mount them onto the Redgrass games like painting handle cap things, yeah, there was some involuntary deconstruction that required reconstruction, but in the end, I got them all mounted and ready to get stuck into. Now, I heavily use the airbrush through this project. As you can see, I did a highlight, but I can't call it a zenithal because technically a zenithal is from the zenith of the sun at the height of the sky, but this highlight was from underneath. I really wanted to create a almost lit by flames and lava appearance with these demons. Then color by color, I wanted to create a bit of a contrast between the back areas of the demons, which would be where the shadows would be, and the front, which would be the highlights against that flamed look. I attempted to do this through various layers of color, and I wanted to create a really nice contrast, which is why I started off with blues and slowly worked my way towards reds and oranges. Now I worked with a really transparent dark blue and really gently went over the whole model in a base coat, which as you can see gave a really dark blue appearance to the back areas which weren't hit by that white highlight, and a really bright vibrant color of blue in the front areas. Then slowly but surely I started to introduce the warmth. Starting with, again, very transparent red highlights in the direction of the light source, creating a really sort of rich mauve pinkish look, and then moving on to a deeper red into the back areas of the wings. Now I continued to layer airbrushing, moving between the highlight direction and then going back and filling in the shades, usually with really transparent and watered down mixtures of paint that had a lot of glaze liquid in them, just so I could really slowly build up some different color transitions. And with all my glazing and layering, I started to create a really cool transition of colors and lighting. And then I started to get a bit ambitious and tried to be a bit more detailed. And I went with a light yellow, and I was going to airbrush in the direct highlights, attempting to be really fine and detailed, and this was a huge mistake. First of all, I don't have enough experience controlling the airbrush. Second, I didn't have the fine needle. I seem to have misplaced the tip that mixes in with the goddamn. Why am I so clumsy and lose and break everything? And as you can see, going in with this yellow, I was just not very accurate. With that said, I really wasn't all that far from what I wanted. So I went back to the drawing board a bit and just mixed up a really thin glaze of a rich, vibrant red and went pretty much over the whole model, but so finely enough that it basically just served to soften the extremity of that yellow that I didn't like and tie it in a little bit with the purples and blues of the back of the demon. Now I had a foundation I could really work from, but half my time was gone and I had a race against the clock ahead of me with 3 models to paint to my best ability in that time frame. So I switched into my good old reliable Warhammer model painting mode. I was just gonna do base coats, shades, and then some highlights. Starting off with the Retributor Gold, which is an acrylic gold color from Citadel. It has a real intensity about it. It looks really aged and rich. So that was really cool to lay into the chains, the belts, and then into the handles of the weapons. Next, continuing with metallics for the blades of the weapons, I used Vallejo Liquid Silver. This is an alcohol-based mix, which means that you can't do your washing, your brushing, your water pot, obviously, you have to wash it in an isopropyl alcohol. But as you can see, this stuff has really intense pigmentation with the metallics. It just really pops. And as strong and cool as the golds were, I really wanted to make sure that the weapons stood out as the menacing part of the models. With those areas done, I just put down a base coat on the horns and bone areas in the model, using that for the fingernails and the little horn things on the wings. And then I moved on to shades. And I didn't have a shade that I felt would work well, so I made my own, mixing 4 different colors, varieties of shade intensities from Army Painter, and then just a couple of drops of model color transparent red. Mixing all these things together, slightly watering and glazing them down a bit, gave me a really warm brown wash with a slight hint of red that worked really well, both as the flesh shade, as something that would double up as a great shade for the golds of the model. I switched to my Agrax Earth shade just for the bones, which settled in really nicely into those crevices, so I wouldn't have to come back and paint any details there. And I used a blue Citadel shade for the steel of the weapons, and I thought that was really cool, just to create some contrast. There's so much heat in these models and color schemes, and I really wanted these blades to stand out. And just that cool, sharp energy in them, I think works really well. Now I'd done the shade for the most part and moved on to the faces, and in detailing them, I went in with the darker shade to add just an extra level of detail in and around the eyes and the mouth, and then going in and painting the details of the teeth and the eyes. At this stage, the models were really coming together, and I was really, really happy with how they were turning out. I put in some white dots for the center of the eyes just to really make them pop, and then it was time to move on to some of the broader details of the model. Moving on to the base, and I'd accidentally created a really cool mix of like purples, blues, and reds that I just loved, and time was running out, so I just worked with that, laying in a purple wash that I wiped away that would settle into the cracks and crevices of the craggy terrain. But then I slipped and the model fell and a couple of fingers broke off. Now, the problem with a couple of fingers breaking off is these were smaller than the heads of a pin. Like, I can't even explain how mortifying it was to have to glue these 2 fingers back on. It was time consuming and it was anxious making. Just look at the size of the fingers I'm trying to fix compared to my big old fingers. It was really hard to glue this on without having too much glue, mess up the paint job or clump up the area. After really painstakingly taking my time and finally getting those 2 fingers back on, I set it off to the side to dry, and it fell off the table and shattered into about 10 pieces. I decided at this point to pause my time. I wasn't keeping track of it. I just wanted to fix my model to try and get back on track. And this was a very time-intensive and frustrating and upsetting and soul-destroying process. But the silver lining of this whole thing is that I had all the pieces, including the now 3 fingers that had fallen off, the blades of the weapon, the wing, and piece by piece, I reconnected the larger areas of the model. It was all held up by these chains, so there were only like 3 tiny areas that I could super glue that would weight bear the whole model. Now this is where I thank my lucky stars for this super fast acting activator. I really recommend anyone who's doing any sort of 3D printing or modeling or miniature building to have a super glue activator. I don't use it all the time, but when I need it, my God, am I glad I have it, because in situations like this, standing and holding each tiny piece, especially when they detach from where you're trying to glue them because they're stuck to the friction of your finger and they pull off and you cry and you want to punch something. Being able to just simply put a few drops on and just give a squirt, hold for a few seconds and know that it's gonna hold, then you can set about adding a little bit more glue and give it another squirt and it's gonna build up its stability very rapidly. It took a minute as opposed to 15 minutes to reattach the main areas, and then the fingers took another 15-20 minutes. My final steps were to give a very light dry brush in the direction of the light source on the ground. Then going in with a black, I went around the bases of the minis and filled in the cloth of the demons. But there was one last step that I couldn't resist doing. Even though I'd gone through all that soul-crushing reconstruction, I had set up the foundation of a really cool lighting scheme and direction with all of that airbrushing and all of that careful building up of layers and colors. With about 15 to 20 minutes left, I went through and tried to as deftly, accurately, but quickly as possible go through and add some direct lighting on the undersides of the anatomy of the character and some of the areas of the bases. And oh my God, am I glad that I did this, because it was the finishing garnish that really tied my whole concept together. I haven't really painted mini demons since I was a kid, so I didn't want to leap into doing something that's never been done before, because I haven't done this in ages and I just wanted to do it the good old-fashioned way, and I just had so much fun jumping back into this, despite some of the challenges along the way. At the end of the day, when you're in a hobby like this, you sign up to the pain as well as the pleasure, but my God, is it worth it in the end? Maybe I shouldn't say my God. I just painted demons. Hell's bells! Is it worth it in the end? Oh, there we go. That's a bit better. Alright, let's see what Dave thinks of my epic demons. So, Dave, I'm back. And I'm dead inside.
Oh no, what happened?
What do you think happened?
All right, if it was anything like my project, things broke. Okay, that's my first guess.
Yeah? What's your second guess?
My second guess is that under a time crunch painting 3 models, something happened with the paint job that you couldn't fix.
Actually, no, I'm happy with the paint job.
Okay,
Yeah,
yep.
the second thing is things broke.
Okay.
All right, we ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
These are my demons.
Hey!
Demon boys.
They look cool.
I'm really happy with them. Very generic demon, but I haven't painted generic demon before.
They've come together really well. They reek of Diablo, like that classic.
Yes, exactly what I had in my mind of like that poster with the light up on the face. That is exactly what I was
You've done a really good job. I like it. I can't wait to absolutely obliterate them on the tabletop and just destroy them, crush them, disintegrate, all of that.
So we're gonna close voting for the official match, like the system and the map on the weekend. Otherwise, we're actually gonna do another 2 videos for this giant event. So 4 total for our 100K celebration.
It's a pretty big celebration.
It's a big celebration because we've got 2 each down now. We've got our models. Once the map is voted on, we're gonna make some terrain. Simple terrain, but we're gonna make some custom terrain to suit the game type we're gonna play.
I love that you've left me. This one's one that I'm gonna be within. You've said simple. You're gonna be surprised. I've got some tricks up my sleeve for this. So we're gonna dive into planning it together and organizing it. But I think I'm getting a little bit of leeway on some of the creative building here.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm excited. And then the 4th is the main event.
That's where we fight.
Battle time.
If you like this 2 videos a week thing, this is one of our Patreon goals for our mini Patreon, to do it all the time. Now, we've done it especially
for this
for
week.
the 100K.
And then in a couple of weeks when we do the battle, there will be 2 on that week. But we're close, I gotta say. And I think when we're in the new studio and just with that little bit more support, I gotta say everyone supporting the 10% off sale so far has been a huge help. And the new Patreon, the mini club. Everyone's been so amazingly supportive, and it's really not gonna be too long from now where we're just sprinting along. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to do the things. Yeah! It's easier to say, just do the things.
Now, what if they're, like, let's say hypothetically that my dad was watching.
Yeah.
Right? Which he is.
Hi, Dave's dad.
He might not know that you can click the bell and that will give notifications. Subscribe and like. Leave a comment. Give us what we're ending on. This is your job. You get the last
chaotic energy of the demons is sapping my soul.
You get the last say. What is it?